So if you are in a child custody case, child modification case, CPS case, there are some of the ugliest questions that people commonly are asked during these hearings that can be harmful to their position in the custody case. I wanted to go over what we see commonly asked to try to help you prepare your attorney for a good defense on your behalf. Remember, the judge is the most important person in the room. Even if it's a Zoom room, that judge is listening to the evidence. And even if the judge is looking at this computer, which is where their evidence is showing up and where their record is showing up, the judge is often still listening, even if you don't think that they are. Sometimes they're not, but most of the time they are. Now, in this scenario, let's say that you are the mother. This is your ex, this is your ex's lawyer, this is your lawyer, and again, this is the judge. This is how the courtroom is going to be set up. First common question is going to be around your arrest history. If you've been arrested, if you've gone to jail, if you've even been accused, questions like that you may be asked. Keep in mind the threshold for what's relevant is very broad. It's any fact that has any tendency to make something of relevancy to the court more likely or less likely than it would be without the evidence. It's a very low, narrow thing, so they can introduce most everything. So the next thing that they may commonly ask about is your illegal drug use, and they may ask about marijuana. If you used it in a state where it was legal or it wasn't legal, they'll ask you about your drug use. They'll ask you if you've ever been hospitalized for your alcohol use. They'll ask you about your alcohol use generally, and that's something that can be used against you in a custody hearing. Attempted suicide is often used against people in custody hearings, so if you have that, tell your lawyer about it. Mental health problems are something that are really thrown around in these custody hearings, even though it's not right. It happens all the time. If you got somebody else pregnant, if you got pregnant by somebody else, not him, during your marriage, that's used against you in a custody hearing. Sexually transmitted diseases are brought up and talked about and used in custody hearings. Another common thing is, and this, I want to pause it, this is really important. You wouldn't necessarily think so because all these other things might be considered more ugly, but failing to pay child support for a child not in front of the court is really going to be something that this judge cares about, because what this judge wants to know is, if I make an order today, will you follow it? And a child support order is a court order. So if you're failing to follow prior court orders, that is going to tell this court a lot about whether you're going to listen to him and his court order. So that is very relevant to the judge, and you want to prepare a defense for it if you haven't paid your child support. Failing to follow court orders with visitation is another one for the same reason. If you haven't been following visitation orders, I think that is one of the most damaging things that you really need to prepare a defense for in any type of custody case. Moms should not hide children. Dads should not hide children. Hiding children is from other people where their relationships are important while they're in developing ages is really frowned upon by courts. Another thing that we see asked that is really damaging is if this person has terminated parental rights to other children that aren't before the court. Terminating parental rights is used as evidence by the judge about this parent and their disposition, I think, as a parent, their parenting skills, and it's damaging to a custody case. So those are the top 10 common ugly things that we see thrown around in custody hearings, questions that you should prepare with your lawyer or on your own to address.